Oh my gosh, it's 10 a.m. It just crept up on me out of nowhere. How you guys doing out there? Testing 1, 2, test. I think we're good. Let me know if you guys can hear me loud and clear. I'm just going to switch my view over here. Make sure I can see you guys. See the comments coming in, if there is any. How you guys doing out there? I'm feeling, eh. Yesterday I was feeling good. Today I'm back to feeling a little weird. The symptoms are still there. I'm going through the whole COVID roller coaster. Not coming up on... Oh, there it is. Cool. Hey, Alex. How's it going? I think I saw Steve Dukes in the stream. Yeah, Steve's here. Nice. Yeah, just you might get a little cough, a little sneeze throughout the stream at some point. You might even catch COVID just from watching the stream. Who knows? I'll try to keep it under wraps. I got my water here. I'm all good. But yeah, it's been a bit of a a week, but I'm glad to be back, and I'm really excited for this stream. I think I'm just gonna dive in. Alexandra, how's it going? Glad you're here. Awesome. We got a few people in the house. 6 people watching. Awesome. That's great. So what's going on today? Okay, I got to explain to the folks who are not part of the Academy what is happening today. So let me explain. Yeah, first of all, thanks for joining. Hope everyone's doing great. And yeah, I'm glad to be back in action this morning. And so the challenge for March hey, Clemens, how's it going? Welcome. So the challenge for March in the Academy was to write for a brief, similar to how I would do that for a taxi brief or something, or a song trader brief. I provided the members of the Academy with 5 different briefs to choose from, and they were, like I said, very similar to the types of briefs that you find for taxi. And I know a few of the members pitch their tunes to song trader briefs and taxi briefs, so it's all the same really. There's a description of the music in question, and there's also usually some type of reference track that comes along with a brief, and that's what I did in this case. So let me just quickly go over what the briefs actually were and we're calling for. I have it up here. So hopefully you guys can see this. So they were at the top here. Brief number 1, 70s inspired disco/funk track with engaging melodies, a hooky chorus, super slick beat that will get folks dancing. Getting that smooth guitar and bass tone will be the key to the submission. Also some disco strings won't hurt. So I won't go over all the references that I provided, but hey Patrick, welcome to the stream, man. So yeah, I won't go over the references. I'd probably just instantly get demonetized or shut down anyway. So I think one of them was a Dua Lipa song. I can't remember what the other ones were. I think they were actually taken directly from Artlist. Some of the disco stuff I found on there. Brief number 2, produce an uplifting lo-fi hip hop track with vintage style production, smooth beats, laid back but positive vibe. Very important that it's sort of on the positive tip. Something that would be suitable for a library like Artlist or Motion Array. And I think I provided even one of my own tracks for one of these references. Maybe something else I found on Spotify too. This one's all about finding the right chord progression and just keeping it positive. So a handful of people sent me lo-fi tracks. Quite a few people sent me 70s stuff. So I'm really excited to show you guys those submissions. Brief number 3 is produce an epic orchestral trailer track, something that can be used in intense action or drama trailers. Your submissions should have impactful motifs, assertive rhythms, and at least 3 acts that build to a climactic ending. So typical trailer arrangement. I recommend including edit points and breaks that will allow editors to really hit those action beats. So yeah, I had a few. I think there was only 2 or 3. I think 3 submissions for this brief, and they're all fantastic. And yeah, I'll tell you right away, you guys. Everyone really did a great job at following these references and the descriptions. So number 4, urban dramedy. Something that could be used as an underscore in a reality TV show. Your submission should make use of playful pizzicato strings and other orchestral elements, but you must also incorporate an assertive and an energetic hip-hop beat into the final mix. So I had a handful of submissions on that too. And then the last one was an 80s synthwave inspired track, something that's vintage dance floor material with a throwback 80s nostalgia vibe, big synths, dreamy melodies, slam and percussion, and fat bass. It's all about dialing in the perfect drums and bass with this vintage synth textures. So I myself wrote an 80s synthwave track for this brief. I was part of this challenge as well, and I will show you guys that track at the end once I've gone through everybody's submissions. I think we have 19 submissions to go through. Amazing stuff. I'm just as stoked on what you guys sent me from on this challenge than on the last challenge and the challenge before that. Every time you guys totally blow me away, and all the tracks are just amazing. There's some of the tracks are just like some really unique and original takes on the briefs. Like some of you took the descriptions and kind of ran with it and did something I totally didn't expect. Others followed the descriptions to a T, but all together, you guys just inspire me. It's really, really good stuff. A few guidelines at the bottom here where I wasn't strictly paying it. It's not a big deal if these aren't followed to the T, but keep the length between 1:30 and 3 minutes. Use the references as sound inspiration. Don't copy them. No one copied the references at all. It was really well done on that. Stick to a singular motif and craft the track around it. So, production rules or production stuff. Typical. Art. Hi from you. Oh, wow. Thanks for joining, Art. Hope everything's okay where you are. We're all sending you our thoughts and prayers. Just kind of, trying not to start my day by reading the news as of late. And it's lately I'm just feeling a lot of doom and gloom. And it's juxtaposed by the weather being really beautiful here lately. But I'm waking up and I'm like, oh man, I probably shouldn't open the Reuters app today because man, there's a lot of pain and suffering going on in the world. I hope you're all good, man. I hope your family and your friends are all good. Sending you lots of love. So let's get into it. I think we have to start with our friend James. Not sure if he's in the stream here, but big shout out to James, longtime supporter back on the Patreon days, and as well as in the Academy. So let's pull up these submissions here. Okay, so James sent me a lo-fi hip-hop track, and he wrote to me, my goal here was to create a track of high enough standard that it would be suitable for Artlist/Motion Array. I drew inspiration from the reference tracks you provided as well as your album on Spotify. Cool. I also followed along with your hip-hop course while writing this track, which really helped. During the writing process, it took several attempts to get something I was happy with. I'm really pleased with the end results here, and look forward to hearing what you think. Okay, cool. Let's play this. Here we go. Nice, dude. What a track! What a track, man. I wrote a lot of notes. I was listening to. It's funny how like your feelings and your vibes on things change, like depending on when you listen to it. I was listening to all these submissions last night, and I wrote a little bit of feedback for all of them, and I mean, there's just so much I like about this track. I mean, in terms of the positive energy and like the uplifting feel of it, you absolutely nailed that part of the brief. And I don't know what it is, but those like fuzzed out little stabs that you're using are really, really cool. Very unconventional sort of sound for lo-fi, but it's really, really cool. I'm not sure what it is, but let me know. The first time I heard this, my gut feeling was like, and I love what you're doing with the piano, especially when you're kind of like getting into it on those choruses. Personally, like when I'm writing piano for lo-fi, like I tend to keep it pretty open and sparse, which you did up until about like everything up until about like 26 seconds in or so. Like when you hit the choruses, both choruses, it gets busy and it starts taking up like a considerably more room in the mix. And personally, I think you had so much other instrumentation in there that you didn't really need to get so busy with the piano. Like I think you could have kept it being minimal, with like the occasional like little run and fancy stuff like you were doing. But it got like, it got quite busy. Listening back to it now, I'm just like, maybe that works. So definitely not like a knock on the track. I mean, in terms of, I think it's just a stylistic thing. That's how I would have approached it. But man, like, yeah, I really don't have a whole lot of like constructive criticism on the mix or anything like that. Everything sounds good. There's a couple of points where it sounds like maybe like a triangle, like a hit, or like maybe a glockenspiel. I think it was a triangle, which is a little sharp in the mix. Like, it kind of like dinged my ear. I'm really sensitive to those kinds of things with hip hop, lo-fi hip hop. Try not to get too pointed with any of the instrumentation, so it's not like a little, it's not too distracting. Especially considering, a lot of the I get served ads on Instagram quite often with like for ads that are for, I don't know, man, like for digital products, a lot of digital products, stuff like that. And I hear my own tracks from Artlist being used in the background of some of those ads. And not all of them have dialogue, but some of them do. So, I mean, those kinds of like pointy sounds are always sort of a conflict if there's dialogue involved. That's just my 2 cents. But other than that, man, like, dude, killer track. I loved it, James. Great stuff. Oh, Eric's in the house. Sorry, I haven't checked the comments in a second. Hey, everyone, sorry I couldn't be live. Yeah, Eric, just to let everyone know, Eric was going to join today, but had a lesson to teach. That's all good. Glad to see you here, man. And I'm still checking my email in case you sneakily send me a track last minute. I think he mentioned that he didn't have time to finish the challenge, but I swear to God, he's gonna send me a track here like last minute, and then he's gonna give me hell all week, saying you didn't get my track. Oh, James is in the house. Awesome, man. Just went to the refuge and immediately joined your stream. Hopefully I have Wi-Fi in this area. Oh, awesome, man. Glad you're here, Art. That's awesome. Beautiful track indeed. Yeah, beautiful track. Okay, let's keep this train going. Sorry, James. We just finished reviewing your track, so you'll have to go back and watch the replay here. But it was a great way to start things off. So thanks for joining. James is audio mix expert, in case anyone was wondering. What's funny is I was actually working on a lo-fi track this morning for a brief. Send it over, man. Send it over. Let's review it. Give it a listen. Okay. Next on the list is Mr. Mark Mess, aka Twin Pines Shed. So I posted 2 links to Mark's Spotify below in the description. Mark's been writing some new music lately, and it's awesome. One of them is like this really sweet rock track with vocals. Check that out. Yeah, go give him a follow on Spotify when you have a moment. Not sure if Mark's here. Awesome. Twin Pines Music is in the house. Hey Mark, I'm just about to review your track here. So Mark sent me this last night, I believe. Last minute submission. Way to get it in on time. Okay. So this is an urban dramedy track, I believe, and it's called Where's My Monkey? Here we go. Yes. Love it. Clemens says, puts a smile on my face. Love it. Yeah, me too, man. Me too. Dude, Mark, that is a great track. And way to nail the urban dramedy brief. That's great. The only thing I would say, and this is actually, there's some interesting things about this track that struck me. First of all, what I really liked is it's a beautiful use of space. There's lots of space in the track, and like I love the little guitar bit that you put in the doo-doo-doo. This is great. It really fits perfectly into the track and the vibe. The I think you took a little long to get to like to the beat. It was quite a long intro. I probably would have cut that down a bit and just kind of like got into it a bit faster. And I think what's interesting about the track is that there's like swung elements up against straight elements. So you like the beat and like the main riff that you have in the intro is like straight, and then you have this like do 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 do, like, which is swung. And normally I would say like swung elements against the straight elements, like it sometimes like it's off, it's jarring, it's like it doesn't quite work, but like it kind of sits together nicely in the track. I don't know, I just like it. Maybe I'm just in a good mood today. I don't know. But that would be that would be my feedback for you. I mean, like it's great. I think the drums like could be a little bit like more punchy, like a little bit more I don't know, like trap style, like hip hop. That would have been like my preference, but that's a stylistic thing. I mean, you got the vibe. You got the vibe of it. Yeah, great job, Mark. Thanks for submitting that, and I'm glad you got it in on time. I know you're a busy guy. So always a pleasure to feature your music. And yeah, go check out Mark's tracks. I got him or Spotify links. I got them posted in the description there. Okay. Keeping it moving. No problem, man. Yeah, my pleasure. Okay, so next up is Mr. Nathan TOFT. Nathan decided to write for the Dramedy Brief, and I believe he mentioned he wrote this after taking the Dramedy course. So let's check this one out. It's called Sneaky Quirky. Sneaky Quirky Dramedy. Here we go. Nice. Excuse me. Very sneaky quirky indeed. Great job, Nathan, man. Oh yeah, I should mention that Nathan mentioned this to me. He used mainly East-West opus for the strings, and woodwinds and percussion came from BBC Orchestra Discover. Cool. So really well done, man. And it's funny that you mentioned East-West. It's been a long time. That was like some of the first orchestral sample stuff that I used as well. I've heard they made some drastic improvements to the orchestral stuff. Back in the day when I was using it, I could never wrap my head around it. It just didn't sound that great. It was always a struggle, but I think they've improved it since. So, but this sounds great. In terms of the composition, I think you nailed the dramedy genre. There's no question there. To be totally fair, the brief was specifically for urban dramedy, so I was expecting like a hip hop beat to come in there, which is cool. I'm gonna let it slide because Nathan represents the Canadian contingent of the Academy, so he can do no wrong. Big shout out to Nathan, my friend in Ottawa. It's all good. So yeah, honestly, okay. Let me give you some constructive feedback here. The one thing that I'm kind of the one thing I sort of grappled with when the first time I heard it, and you guys might disagree with me on this, but it's the use of reverb. It's like it feels wrong to say it because it's not like it sounds bad or it's like overdone. I feel like it's an objectively nice application of reverb, but the reason I'm pointing it out is that I think it's you guys might disagree, but I feel like it's a bit unconventional for dramedy, and like you guys let me know in the comments if you think I'm wrong about this. But a lot of the dramedy that I hear like on reality TV and stuff, it's like really dry, or at least there's like some contrast, like maybe a bit of verb, like just a bit of verb on the pizzicato strings, but and some percussive elements, but like the lower range, the woods, like, and the brass especially, it's quite dry, and it's like really upfront in the mix. I'm just going on what I've heard, so far from like production libraries and just like from what I hear on TV occasionally. So I don't want to make a big stink about it, but that's something I personally probably would have dialed back just a little bit in this case, but yeah, you know, I definitely want to give you huge props overall for a really well written dramedy track, and I'll just pretend that I heard a hip hop beat in there. Arrangement is great too, and instrumentation is all spot on. I love the key change that you threw in there. It's really great stuff, man. Fantastic. Got the Canadian flag down there. Right on. Yeah, the melody was great too. Agreed. Okay, so let's keep it moving. Next, we have a submission from Andrew Smolin, and this Andrew is a relatively new member of the Academy too. I think maybe did you join like more than a month ago? Anyway, he sent me a last-minute submission too. Really glad you got something in. I believe he is taking a stab at the synthwave. So this is the first synthwave track. Let's feel it out here. Where are we at? God, my brain is still foggy. Where is he? There he is. Sorry, guys. Okay, here we go. Awesome. Very, very nice, Andrew. So yeah, clearly, I think, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but you definitely nailed the Allison vibes on this one, because one of the references I provided for the synthwave brief was a track by one of my favorite synthwave artists, Allison, and that's like, if you guys want to check them out, it's at a.l.i.s, so on. Allison. And this is definitely in that vein, and it's super vibey. I love the melody. I love the chords you're using. Yeah, like that. What I think I really appreciate about this is like the beat is like super upfront and fat and thick. It's like, I like the way the drums are in the mix. And also like a really vibey kind of processing on the top line melody. This is very, very cool. The only feedback I'd give you is that there might have been some room to add some like transition effects throughout the track, like in and out of, you know, like where you're ramping things up and down, and like, you know, some like just some risers, some cymbal swells, white noise, that kind of thing. I feel like it, yeah, like the track was a bit dry on that front, but otherwise like really sweet mix. And you know, it kind of like this isn't like a criticism really so much, but it kind of was like maybe a bit like on the hi-fi side overall, like not necessarily a bad thing, but like I feel like you could have gone a bit dirtier and like made it sound like a little bit more lo-fi. It was kind of like a modern, like you know, like clean sounding take on synthwave. Like the vibe was synthwave, but like if you would just put it through like a I don't know, if you just slapped one of those like tape plugins on the stereo bus out, it probably still would have sounded awesome. But I like the way you mixed it. It was very cool, and the vibe was fun, and like I want to listen to that. That had like a, you know, cruising down at you know, Sunset Boulevard with the top down kind of vibe. So I like that, man. Thank you so much for submitting that, Andrew. Appreciate it. So I have some texts coming in from Eric here. Emergency texts. He's sending me something. You guys ready to hear some? Eric is giving me a last second submission here. So I got to get this off my phone and send it to my computer for one thing here. Let's check this out. We got a track from Eric. I've never heard it before. So let's see what's up. It's called Bone Down. Okay. Eric had some notes to send here. So I think this might not be finished. He said, I literally started it about an hour and a half ago. It's for a brief that I was sent last night, and as it would have, it might end up sitting in the lo-fi category, assuming lo-fi hip hop. I actually played, oh, sick. Okay. He actually played the trombone on this track. So now I'm excited. Open to any ideas on where to go with it and what to do with it from here. I will hit it again in the morning, due tomorrow night. Oh, he sent me a reference too. I won't play the reference, but you guys can help me out here. Let me know. Yeah, let's do some collective feedback for Eric here. Okay, Art's got some suggestions on the last track, I'm assuming, for Andrew. Cool. For me, snare too loud and snare too low. Oh, and you're listening on AirPods. Okay. Hey, Frodo. Welcome, man. Glad you can make it. I haven't gotten to your track yet, so I'm glad you're here. Okay, here we go. Listening to Eric's track, Bone Down. Sweet. Dude, you know, I gotta say, I'm so jealous that you can play the trombone. I love the trombone. That's a killer riff. The drums are super funky. Like I love the way the drums sound right off the bat. Like C Jams just mentioned in the comment. I mean, as soon as you got a killer bass line in there, then that's obviously like, you know, that's just gonna take it's just gonna take it to a whole new level. You know, again, for anyone who missed the intro to this track, it's still super fresh and it's not finished, right? So what I hear in it, other than like the obvious bass line, is I hear like electric keys. Like I don't really hear like a normal style piano. I for some reason just like hear it going through some roads, maybe, you know, something like that, to fill in those chords. And but like, dude, what the hell did you use for, like, what are those chords that you have in there right now? Like it sounds so cool. And I love how it's going through some like wobbly tape effect. It's really trippy. Yeah, I just like feel I felt like somebody like rapping over it too. you should hire somebody to do some like rap over. I don't know. It had a 90s a hip hop vibe to me, which is a huge compliment because like I think just I don't know, that's the kind of hip hop I dig. So yeah, throw your comments below. Let Eric know what he should throw down. Yeah, nice groove. Agreed. I immediately wanted to pick up my bass and start jamming to that, but I don't want to take away from anyone else's submission review here. Okay, thanks, Eric. Appreciate you sending me something for the stream. It's great. Okay, let's keep this train going. What is next? Who is next? Clemens, you're up. Okay, so Clemens is a new member in the Academy, and I'm really happy to feature his work here for the first time. I believe Clemens chose to tackle the 80s synthwave brief. So let's give this one a listen, and we'll talk about it afterwards. Here we go. Awesome, dude. Clemens, great job, man. I'm not sure if you're still in the stream. I think you were here earlier, but so stoked to feature this track. And it's important to important to recognize that this. I believe you mentioned that this was the first time that you've ever tackled this this genre. So, and that was something that I recommended to all the members, just to to take yourself out of the comfort zone, and work on a track that you're not familiar with, and challenge yourself, which you did here, and I'm so glad you did it, because what I loved about the track is just like the huge melodies and like the vintage sounding synths. You got some like also to point out, you have some really well placed dynamics in the mix, like some big moments with that melody lead in, and like you're rising everything up, and there's these big impactful dynamic moments in the mix, which I think is really important in the context of it being like licensable and like for production music, right? You want to create those like edit points. It's super important to do that. I wrote some other notes here. Let me check. As for constructive feedback, I think like when I was listening to it last night, I think that probably the one thing that I point out is that and this is kind of like I'm not sure if it really makes sense to say this, because like the drums and the bass in these like 80s synthwave tracks is often kind of like thin. Like that's kind of the style in a way, but it's a real challenge to kind of get them to speak through the mix in their own way. And I felt like the drums in the mix were a bit buried. Like they could have had a bit more presence, and that's something that I noticed in a few of the 80s synthwave tracks that were sent. It's hard to get that, because sort of, yeah, like I said, that's kind of the style. But you got these big fat synth chords, which you're using, and for the melody, and they take up a lot of space in the mix. So the trick is to find enough real estate for your bass and your drums to speak through that, even if the style of them is kind of like thin and grainy, like 80s style. So it's often the case of finding the right samples to use and the right amount of compression on that drum bus. And like when I was writing my own synthwave track, like it was a struggle for me too, and it's a style that I'm not that familiar with too, so it was a challenge for me to do exactly what I'm talking about. And I had to do some very aggressive EQ cuts on some of those synth patches in order to give the drums and the bass like enough room to breathe in the mix. It's very tricky. I wouldn't say I wouldn't say your drums are like totally buried in the mix or anything. I could hear them, they're coming through clearly, but when they're up against those synths in the chorus sections especially, I sort of feel intuitively like they could use a bit more presence. And again, it might come down to like different sample selection or like more aggressive compression. Let me know in the comments if you applied a lot of compression to the drum bus and what your approach was on that. But like the synths are like a very powerful wall of sound. So in a sense, I'd like to hear the drums match the intensity a bit more. But otherwise, man, like great track, and would love to know like what you used for the synths, and you can let me know in the comments. Let me just catch up on the comments here. If I had time, I would have taken all the breaks. Oh, man. Okay, Art. Take care, man. Thanks for joining. Okay, so let's keep this moving. Who's up next? We got Rob. I feel like I'm missing comments from earlier, too. Did I miss anybody? Manos, welcome. Okay. Okay, so we have Rob up next, who goes by CLOUDLIFTER Music, and also a new member in the Academy. Oh, awesome. Okay, Clemens says, I use parallel compression for the drums. Okay, and synth comes from Serum. Sweet. I didn't end up using any Serum on my synthwave track, but I have all those like Arturia vintage synths which I'll use. I'll talk about that later. Doesn't matter right now. But thanks for letting us know, Clemens. Okay, Cloudlifter. Here we go. This track is called Coming Home. And this is a synthwave track. Here we go. Okay, cool track. Thanks so much for sending that over, Rob. It's really interesting. I really like the arpeggiated synth vibe throughout the track. You made really good use of those arps, and I like the fact that this one is like a little bit more laid back in comparison with the other synthwave tracks that we've heard, and including mine too. Mine's like super, straight, like ahead, like super high energy, and this one is very chill. And I would say that maybe like more in line with like the dreamy quality that you heard in like Allison's track reference, which I'm totally into, and I really like that and appreciate that. So I kind of have similar thoughts about the drums feeling a bit diminished in comparison to like the wall of sound that you have with the synths. Not like in a big way. It's just it's kind of like ironic feedback because again, the drums for synthwave are by definition supposed to be kind of vintage and thinned out, but maybe it could be a bit more of a compression or like a processing issue. Excuse me. In this case, in the same sense that Clemens like had like these big thick layers of synths, which in contrast to the drums are taking like a lot of breathing room in the mix. Like I think that it works for the track, but it's something to, I don't know, maybe I'm picking on the drums for you guys too much, but it's a tricky balancing act. I feel like in the references, at least, like the drums in the reference tracks are really, really like thick and up front. And despite the synths being huge, one thing that I would point out to you with the mix is that I did notice that like in some of the synth patches that you're using, there's like they're super buzzy, right? And there's a bit of like piercing resonance that cuts through in parts. Like you can really feel that in the intro, especially with that like first synth line, all that top end like buzzing. I personally would probably tamp that down a bit if you can. It does take up a lot of space in the mix throughout the track, even though it sounds like interesting. But all that being said, I love the pacing and the tempo of the track. I would just come back to the drums, especially listen to the Com Trues reference. He's the master of getting his drums to just like smack, like, you know, right up front in the mix without getting in the way of anything else. And that's really the challenge with synthwave, I think, is just getting those synths and drums to both kind of speak, you know, through the mix in their own lane, and not get in each other's way. Yeah. I'm glad you got this track to me on time for this live stream, and it's great to have you in the academy, man. And I'm really stoked to showcase your work. So thank you so much for sending that, and let's move on. So next we have Paul Marsh. Okay, here we go. I believe this is for the Epic trailer brief. Let's give this one a listen. Here we go. Wow. Paul, man. Dude. Killer track. Wow. I mean, I'm not sure I have like a whole lot of critical feedback for you on this one. But let me share a few thoughts with you here. I mean, dude, just so epic. What really impressed me with this mix the first time I heard it is how well you're managing the low end in the mix. And that is like, I think that's probably the most difficult thing to manage with these types of like hybrid mixes, or like, you know, epic, you know, trailer mixes, is like, it's getting that low end to punch through and managing it properly. It's one of these things that like I found like extremely difficult with trailer music, and often the trailer tracks that I get sent for review, or it's like they're usually skewed on either side. It's like too little on the low end, or it's too much. And I felt like that was a really, really nice balance. Yeah, and I think you did a fabulous job with the mix, and I could tell you put a lot of love into the track. I also absolutely love the ambience and the texture throughout the intro, and the the chords you're using in the arrangement is just sitting so nicely, and it's just really, really interesting. I felt like engaged throughout the whole track. All the trailer hits and the orchestral percussion is like smashing through in a way that just perfectly captures the spirit of the brief. I think if there's anything constructive I could say in terms of feedback, it would be that it would be about the climactic section near the end, like where things really start to ramp up at about like 1 minute 20 in. After that last dropout, I felt like the short string staccatos kind of slowly start to get a bit buried by the end of the track. And I know that, like, you know, from writing tracks like this, like, it'd be a really tricky thing to deal with, because you sort of have to like, you know, pick and choose what's going to be front and center, of course, in the mix. And it's clearly, you know, it's important to highlight like the melody, you know, whatever instruments you're using to do that, like the main melody, in your case, like the strings and the brass section, and you don't want to get in the way of that, but I still think that there was a bit of room for you, there was a bit of room for the violin staccatos, like, you know, those ostinatos that come through a bit more, without getting in the way of that melody. And I found that sometimes it helps to double up those staccatos with like some synth layers in the final climactic section. Like sometimes I feel like the violins on their own like isn't quite enough, and, you know, of course the point is not to have them compete with the main melody. Like I said, like that's your focus point, but you do still want to feel them, you know. And I felt like they got a bit lost by the end of that climactic section. So you can hear them faintly, but that was really the one thing I felt like there was just a bit, if they were just a bit more present, especially in that last section, like, you know, around 1 minute 55, the build up towards those final moments, that would have been a great place to kind of like pump them up. But yeah, man, killer track, great work. Really happy to feature this one, Paul. Totally nailed the overall vibe for the brief, and the mix just smacks, man. Like, just punch me in the face. Yeah, super powerful and engaging. Great stuff. Very good composition, arrangement, and how it progressed till the end. It kept me all the way. Yeah, agreed. Cool. Okay, next up we have Patrick Anthony's track. This one's called Disco Fever. Let's give it a spin. Here we go. awesome track. That was great, Patrick. So much I love about that track. The first thing that stuck out to me was the way that you're processing those rhythm guitars. Like I don't know what you got on them in terms of like, you know, the plugins, or maybe it's just the guitar you're using, but they just sound awesome. It just sounds killer. Super groovy. Can I just say how much I love this like breakdown section? Right at like 1 minute in, it's like pure vibe. It's right around. This is just so good. What are those synth stabs? I need to know what you're using there. You got to tell me. Are you still in the stream? If you are, you got to tell me what you used for those like super wavy synth stabs. I love that. It's great, man. I need that sound. Okay, so yeah, I love the arrangement and the feel of the track. I love those like those slinky guitar riffs. Super catchy. It definitely made me feel like I was in like an indoor roller skating rink with like a disco ball, and it's like a scene from like Studio 54 or something. Vibe wise, I just loved it. I have a few thoughts on the mix, and they're really, really minor. But I just personally thought there was a few elements like the string and the horn stabs, for instance, that could have been a bit punchier and like more pronounced in the mix. Like I feel like you could turn those up a bit. Not they weren't way off the mark or anything like that. Like those, like you have these stabs at like 45 seconds in or so that I think you could bring those up. Like, you know, I think you got a little room. Give them the spotlight a bit more. Also, the bass line is sweet. I'm not sure like what you used for it, but I think it might have been cool to hear some more like slap bass or something like that, something a little bit funkier. But a bit punchier for the bass, but regardless, you know, the bass is holding it down. Nothing wrong with it. I think, yeah, like I said, like I think the highlight of the track is just those rhythm guitars. They just sounded right, and super vibey. And the string line in the chorus sections was fantastic too. Really just beautiful and simple melody that's carrying us through the entire chorus section. So really well done, man. I'm such a bad guitarist that I just chucked some stuff on to disguise it. Well, whatever you chucked on it, it worked, man. It sounds good. It sounds really good. Did you edit the guitars? Is that just like was it a loop? I'd be curious to know. Mano says the guitar could start more minimal when introduced, and on the second part get full melody. Awesome track. Yeah. Great, man. Great stuff. You got to give away your secrets, man. You got to tell me what synth you used for those wavy shots. That was super cool. 8-bar lib. Okay. You don't have to tell me. Okay. So, next up is, Alan Hughes. Arco's in the house. Great to see you. Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I'm feeling much better. Oh, those are splice? Okay. All right, cool. So those are samples. Yeah, sometimes you just got... I don't know if you get this, but like sometimes when I'm scrolling through Splice and you get that like really tasteful, like the little synth stabs, like I'm just like, damn, I really want to know how they made that, you know? Like I want to understand how that came about. That's what kills me with Splice. I'm just like, oh, I wish I could just like see how they created it. Anyway, moving on. Alan Hughes is up next. What did Alan send me? Hip hop. Oh, sorry, hip hop dramedy, urban dramedy. Here we go. Let's check it out. Nice. Great ending. Sorry, guys. Alan, great work, man. Yeah, like lots of amazing detail in this one. And I love the thought that you put into it. All those like little flute rips, very, very tasteful. The string tension is very, like, it's fantastic. I like that the track, it's kind of dark. You know, it's the chord changes you use are like a bit on the dark side, which I think just worked well for the track and the vibe. Arrangement and mix, great. I think you nailed the brief on this one. And if there was any constructive feedback that I would offer, all I would say is that maybe, and you know, you guys are hearing me come back to the same themes here, but the hip hop beat, it could, you know, you could thicken that one up. It was a little bit thin. This is clearly a theme that I'm coming back to on several of the tracks. I guess I'm kind of a stickler for drums and for percussion, and I just think it's so important, especially for anything in the hip hop realm. It's just got to be punchy and defined, and I think that you'll notice that on a lot of like modern urban dramedy tracks. They're very beat focused, man, you know, like in the same way that like any, you know, a lot of hip hop, it's all about the beat, you know? So like, the beat is front and center in the mix. It's just something to think about. Cause the rest of the track is deadly and it's spot on. But I think, I'd think more like trap style beat, like 808 hi-hats kind of thing, saturated, punchy kick and snare samples. You know, just nicely compressed and upfront in the mix. Like that's how I would have, you know, done it for the urban style dramedy. But yeah, that would be the only thing, because I'd say, you know, because I love like the tension vibe of this dramedy track. It's perfect. The way you've got all the instrumentation working off each other is really, really well done. So congrats on that. Hey, Love 3 Them, welcome. Okay, so let's move on. Next, we have Alex B. Big shout out to Alex. I believe you're in the stream. And we have got a hip hop track to show you right now, lo-fi hip hop. And I'm stoked to show you guys this one. It's a great track. Where are you, Alex? There we are. Okay, so this one's called Nice to Be in Orbit. Here we go.
3, 2, 1, 0.
Damn, dude. Excuse me. There's so much I like about that track. I don't even know where to start. And the tracks that you send me just keep getting vibier and vibier, dude. Fantastic work. Initially, and I've been chatting with Alex a little bit lately about, and we talked about this track, and what really blew my mind is those horns that you're using. That's like stock Logic, which totally knocked me out. Like when you told me that, I was like, really? Like it sounded like. I thought they were like, samples that you got from Splice or something like that. I mean, they really sound really, really good. And like the lines are really well written. The guitar work is slick, man. It's really, really slick. And my first gut feeling when the first time I heard the track, I thought the kick was like a little too loud. But I don't know. I feel like it works. It's just like heavy up front kick, and you got this like sweet bass line that's grooving with that kick, and it just like feels crazy funky. It just I don't know, that you killed it. Yeah, the guitar riffs are just like the guitar work is all just slinky. I think the one thing I mentioned to you earlier, and like in terms of like something that I wasn't so sure about, was that the background pads that you're using are like, they got this crazy chorus effect on them that makes them sound a little bit out of tune. And I was like, I wonder if Alex is throwing these through like a lot of like wow effect with like the VALK compressor or something like that, or RC20. And I was just like, I'm not so sure I would dig into the detune too heavy, but like, and that's always something that I'm a little bit hesitant to do with the lo-fi stuff that I send to libraries. Like I don't want it to sound too out of tune, so I usually dial it back a bit. But Alex mentioned to me that this has already been accepted by Audio Jungle, Pond 5, I think too. And so yeah, clearly it wasn't a problem for them. Man, yeah, that's all I got to say about this track. It's just fantastic, super vibey. Yeah, that's it, man. Joris, welcome. Okay, so let's move on. Thanks, Alex. Next up, we have Rob Barnes, who also tackled the 80s synthwave brief. Let's check this one out. Here we go. Synthwave Overland. Here we go. yeah, dude. I love this track. Great work, Rob. Yeah, really, really fun to listen to it. And I love how dark this one is. It's just like, it's pure badass. And immediately brings me back to like video games from from my childhood. It's like, it's instant nostalgia vibes. You totally nailed the brief on this one. And I love the little details that you thought about, especially like for instance, like the little stop that you threw in, like at 127 in, I believe. It's just like an instant of silence in there, and like I just love those little details, man. Like killer, so good. So yeah, like all those little like ghost percussion hits that you have, like at about 1 minute in, when like the drums get filtered out, like in the breakdown, those just sound so good. And the entire breakdown section actually is just like, is really, really well done. It's hilariously similar to the track that I'm going to show you guys that I did at the end. It's very much in the same vibe. Anyway, I think you managed to find an appropriate amount of room for the drums and like the pulsing bass synth to speak through the mix without getting bogged down by the other synth work in the track, which is the big challenge with synthwave. I think I do think that there's a little bit of room to beef up the kick, especially maybe the snare a bit too, but they're sitting in their own lane in the mix. They're a little bit low compared to like the hi-hat sound. But it feels like you know, they're there. They're present. The whole thing has like a really great pulsing energy, which I love. Sounds like you put the bass synth through maybe like a bit of sidechain compression or some kind of like pumper, you know, plug-in, whatever it was, which was 100% the right move in my opinion. The melodies are simple, they're effective. It works really well. So thanks, Rob. Great stuff, man. Okay, next up we have Tony. Tony BONGHI. I hope I'm pronouncing your last name right. This is Tony tackled the epic hybrid trailer brief. So let's check this one out. Here we go. Sweet ending there. Awesome work, Tony. Huge energy coming into the main section after the intro build up, like right at 35 seconds in. It sounded like really explosive, which is great. Arrangement of the track, solid. I could tell you put some thought into those edit points, and the transitions like in and out of the intro and into the climax, and then like the final intense section are all really well placed. And I think that the transition effects leading us through those sections are a highlight of the track for me. And those are like, you know, quite frankly, the details that often get missed in tracks like this. It's dialing in those transitions so that they're super powerful and they hit hard. And I could tell you put a lot of work into those details. So nice work on that. I think maybe one aspect of the track that I want to discuss is it's more of a stylistic one. So it's just my opinion. And, you know, to be honest, I'm not sure I totally feel some of the synth patches that you're using are a great fit for the style of the track. And it's, you know, it's sort of a tough one for me to say that because I use a ton of synths, obviously, in my hybrid trailer tracks, of course. And it is like legitimately difficult to find the right patches to mesh with the orchestral elements. It's a struggle. And I think probably where this is most noticeable for me in the intro, when you're using that sort of like, I guess I call it like a bit of like an 80s sounding electric piano patch to accompany the string staccatos. That's the one patch you're using that doesn't sit too well with me, like stylistically. It just sounds a bit too pointed and janky for the genre, if I'm being totally honest. But that's my 2 cents on it. You know, others in the chat here might disagree with me on that one, but I think my philosophy on that is that, like, when I write these kinds of like hybrid tracks, if I'm using orchestral patches like string staccatos, for example, I try to let the orchestral or the strings do most of the talking in the mix, you know, like the orchestral elements, because ideally I don't want the synth patches to take away too much from that. Like I often have the synths providing layers of pad support for like the brass chords, and you know, if I'm using synths to delineate the string staccatos, they're usually sitting behind the strings, not in front of them, if that makes any sense. I use the synths more as a reinforcement than anything, but that's just the way that I like to do things for like that kind of hybrid stuff. It doesn't mean that everyone's got to think of it that way. I'm just letting you know what came to mind here, but I think you did a fabulous job overall, Tony. I especially love the choir that you threw in at the end, and the snare drum like solo like at the very end of the track leading up to the final moments is pretty sweet too. But yeah, like solid edit points and transitions, and you know, like the risers and the trailer hits and the downers and all that were very, very tasteful. So yeah. That's great. Thanks so much for submitting that, Tony. Great work. Next up. Okay, Alexandra, you're up next. Alexandra tackled the 70s brief, and she had a few notes to send me about it. She said she chose the 70s inspired disco / funk track. This song's called Bamboozle, and it is about self-confidence, eliminating other people's wrong decisions, and following your own rules in life. Hell yeah. Okay, let's check this out. There we go.
Now it's time for me to hold on and act cool. But hey, I will come back. I will come back to have my own set of rules. Well, you see, I'm not that cool. Now it's time for me to hold on and act cool. But hey, I will come back. I will come back.
Wow. Yeah. Damn. I love it. I absolutely love. There's so much I like about it. I love that you added vocals to this track, and they're great, by the way. I mentioned this to you earlier, but I think you mentioned that your partner was the one that was singing. So make sure to give him props from us. That was great. Really, really well done. I think like you personally, I think you took the 70s brief and you kind of ran with it and put like a slightly more electronic spin on it than I would have expected, but you incorporated some of the important like 70s elements into the track really, really nicely. For instance, like the string stabs, which I should point out didn't make an appearance until about like after 1 minute in, and they sound so cool. I personally, I would have put them in the track a bit earlier. You kind of saved them for the last chorus, which is cool. Nothing wrong with that. But I think, for me, the highlight from the track is this absolutely insane bass line throughout the whole track, and it's just insane. And I think that what you really nailed in this mix is just putting it right up front and center. And I think that was a bold move, and it doesn't feel like it gets in the way of anything. It's just driving the energy the whole time. So, which I thought was really cool. So in terms of the arrangement, personally, I would have cut the intro in half. I would just get right into it for the sake of like licensability. It's not a super long intro, but I don't think, I personally just don't think you need to waste any time at all, just diving right into it, right into the beat, because the beat itself is so cool. The samples are great. I think the snare, like the first time I heard it, I thought it was perhaps like a bit too like reverb saturated, which for me takes it out of the 70s realm a bit and puts it somewhere else for me. It's a really interesting sound, but that huge splashy snare takes up quite a bit of room in the mix. I'd be curious to know like how it would sound if you dialed the reverb down a bit and made it a bit tighter, but very, minor stylistic, a detail. One of my favorite moments, and you guys will think I'm nuts for saying this, but like I'm such a sucker for these like tiny little details that people put in their track. Like, and I think right at like 32 seconds in, there's this little boop snare sound on its own, and I absolutely love it. Can we just listen to this? It's just a little like boop. Where is it? I think it's 30 seconds or so. Just that little sample. I don't know why, I just loved it. Anyway, brilliant. Yeah, I mean, overall, I just think that this track is badass. It's definitely more. I feel like it's definitely more of an electro spin on the 70s theme, but the energy is just killer, and it's super original, and as always, yeah, great to feature your work, Alexandra. Thanks so much for sending this over. Okay. Just catching up with the comments here. Sounds like something that could be on the radio. Really great stuff. Totally. Hey, Alan. Welcome. Well, long intros are my thing. Need to work on it. Yeah. Right on. That's cool. Eric, to some extent, I am trying to stay close to the rev, but there is certainly more to add. The chords were like a mix of vibraphone from mallets and this lo-fi sound from Complete Lo-Fi Glow. Okay, cool. Speaking about the track that we were showing earlier from Eric. I love the boop snare. We love the boop snare, Alexandra. It's great. Where'd you get that boop snare? I want to use it. Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for sending it over. Okay, so next up we have a track from DAAN van der VALK. who I believe is in the stream. I saw him earlier. Big shout out to Dan. Let's see what we got here. So he tackled the lo-fi hip hop brief. Let's check this out. Here we go. Slick ending on that. Did you hear that ending? Listen to that. That's beautiful. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Yeah, great track. I'm gonna put this one on my sexy love making playlist. I don't actually have a playlist for that yet. I should start one. But yeah, this is a sexy track, man. Straight up. I love. There's a lot I liked about it. You cleverly incorporated the sound of smashing glass into the drums, which I thought was really cool. Originality points there. Also, very tasteful use of the tape stop effect right near the end there. Very slick. And yeah, the ending, man. Like, I have to give you the best ending award today so far. I can't give out any awards yet. We haven't listened to all the tracks, but I really like how vibey that slow down ending is there, and like that little synth work right at the end. Very cool, man. Yeah, honestly, Dan, this mix is solid. The instrumentation is on point. Melodies are all really well crafted. The chord progressions feel good. It's uplifting, like the brief said it should be. Really not a lot to say in terms of feedback. I think maybe one aspect of the track that like might bring the licensability into question is the tempo. It's quite slow. I think, I know there's not really anything you can do about that at this point. It's not like I'm saying, I'm not telling you to go back and change that, obviously, but I like, just speaking from experience, like I'm personally a bit weary about slow tempos on lo-fi tracks that I'm submitting to libraries now. I don't know what the tempo is here. If it's 80 or above, you're probably fine, like that. Usually I try not to go below 80. I feel like this might be lower than 80, but it's not a big deal. I'm not making a big deal about it, but I've been turned down a few times on some of the really slow tempo stuff I've submitted to Motion Array in particular. And I was kind of bummed because like I wrote these like really chill, like slow tracks, and I feel like they have something against like anything that's like kind of, you know, on skewed towards like lower energy kind of type stuff. And now I'm all paranoid about writing anything that's slower than 80 beats per minute. Anyway, I'm making a lot of hay about this tempo stuff, but that was just like the one thing that I noticed, is that it's like it's slow and it's sexy, but it's just something I noticed. It's not really like a point of feedback really. Yeah, no, like I love the track. I love the originality of it, of the sample selection, and the details that you threw in there were really, really tasteful. So yeah, sweet. Thanks so much for sending that over, Dan. Okay, moving on. We have Steve Dukes up next. And this is for the 70s brief. So let's check this one out. Here we go. Hell yeah, dude. Another amazing track, Steve. Really well done. You definitely locked in a really like what I like about it is like it's a really warm kind of like 70s groove on this one. Big fat bass line up front. The drums are solid, and I'm digging the vocal chops in there too. Yeah, curious where you got those from. Like, they kind of reminded me of that library from Output, the Exhale library. Not sure if that's what you're using, but anyways, very cool. There was one thing that came to mind when listening back, and it's just something really simple that you could add to sprinkle a bit of flavor on the transition out of the first chorus when you filter things out there for a bit. Right at like I think it's 42 seconds in. So like a moment like that is like a perfect opportunity to throw in some kind of like transition effect, like some kind of like long, white noise whoosh effect or whatever, just like a long simple swell, anything really. I thought it sounded like a little bit abrupt to just kind of like filter it down and like without any kind of transition effect there. Small detail, but just something that came to mind. On one other thing that I might mention to you is that some kind of break point for the drums might have been useful in places, like maybe leading back into the chorus sections, just a moment of pause here and there to maximize like the dynamics and help with the edit points, because you as you have it right now, the drums sound great, but they're kind of like a constant presence throughout the whole track. So just something that could help, create a little impact here and there would just like kind of like, stop them, a little pause here and there. That'd be like, just a simple suggestion. But yeah, love that track, man. Super funky and groovy. Alex says he's impressed by all the submissions. Dude, same here. Same here, man. Sound of vintage and modern at the same time. Yeah, totally. Good point. Okay. Next up, we have Frodo. You're up. Okay, so Frodo is relatively new to the Academy, but he joined recently, but he was actually a longtime supporter of mine back in the Patreon days. So, dude, really happy to feature your work today, and I'm so glad that you joined the Academy. It's great to have you in there. And I believe you took a stab at lo-fi hip-hop, so let's give this one a spin. And let me just find it here. There you are. Okay, Summer Vibe. Let's check this out. Awesome. Okay, thanks for sharing that, Frodo. So I already actually gave Frodo some written feedback over email for this track as part of his Academy membership, as one of the tracks he sent for a personal review. So let me just maybe summarize some of the points that I made already, just so other members can get an idea of like what I thought of this track. I love the vibe, especially that super vintage sounding intro. The guitar part, very very cool, and it's got a ton of vibe. The points that I brought up with Frodo were, I think most importantly is that you saved some very very key tasteful elements for your last chorus, like those horns, and also like that like cowbell type percussion that you're using in like the last chorus. And I was suggesting to him that maybe like get into some of those like ear candy elements like in the first chorus, because again, like, and I come back to this point so often with feedback, is that like when we're looking at things through the perspective of like licensability, it's so important to remember that like that first chorus, like, or the first 30 seconds or so of your track is just so essential. Like you really have to keep in mind that you're making first impressions for your potential buyer. So you kind of got to throw down heavy right off the top. You don't want to leave it all for the last little bit. Overall, I usually aim to hit like the main chorus elements by like about 30 seconds in or sooner when it comes to tracks being on like Motion Array, Artlist, that kind of thing. So I think the intro length that you have works well, but I might consider I would have considered changing the arrangement so that you're busting right into that main chorus, like right after that short intro. I would have come right into it, waste no time. And this is something that you've heard me say to like, several other submissions today as well. That way you're throwing the hook to the listener sooner rather than later. That's the whole point. The only other thing I brought up that I thought was significant was that, and this is a kind of a stylistic thing, was that the piano melody in the chorus, it's like a bit clean for like lo-fi hip hop. And that's just in pointing that out in juxtaposition to some of the other more like lo-fi-ish feeling elements in the track. I think you have room to like dirty it up a little bit, maybe put it through some like saturation or tape effect if you have any kind of plugins like that. So that's what I wrote to Frodo in a nutshell. Maybe a few other points, but that was like the main, the gist of it. This is so bossa nova. Yeah, it has total vibe. Total vibe. Steve Duke says great feedback. Vocal samples from Spice. Okay, awesome. Thanks, Steve. Frodo, had that cowbell laying around in my room and randomly decided to put it in there. Good to know it works. Dude, awesome. Yeah, it sounds great. I thought it sounded really, really tasteful. And that was something that I mentioned in the feedback too, is like get some more like percussive reinforcement in that first chorus, like or in both choruses too. Like I feel like there's a little room for like to spice it up. But yeah, dude, my pleasure. Thanks for submitting it. Hey Donald, welcome to the stream, man. Hope you're doing good. So we have a few tracks left. We're getting almost towards the end here, but next up is Bjorn. Let's check this out. So what did Bjorn do? Oh yeah, also, I'm not sure if Bjorn's here, but if I want to give him a huge congrats on, Bjorn mentioned in the Academy that he recently got into Artlist, which is a huge, huge win and for him. And I know it's something that he's been trying to do for a while now. And I mean, I wasn't surprised because the tracks that I've heard from Bjorn lately have just been, they've been really, really good, super high quality, including this one that I'm about to show you right now, which is taking a stab at the 70s brief. So let's give this a listen. Here we go. Hot dang. Man. Dude, what a track. It's so awesome. Just killer mix. super super tight, man. Like just like the drums and the bass just hit hard, like 100%. Makes me just want to blast this in my car while I drive. That's what it made me feel like. I just want to top down cruise. I don't have a convertible, but you know, I think my favorite part of the track is just like, it starts kind of open, you know, like it like you don't know where it's gonna go with the intro, and then when you kick into the beat, it just like closes. It just shuts down. It closes down into this pure 70s. Like hard hitting warmth, but then like and then it reopens for the chorus, you know, with like these beautiful textural elements in the string line. That's what I really like about the track is the dynamics between the openness and then just like getting like gritty and like, you know, and tight with the way that you're processing like those drums and the bass line. Nice work. The drums themselves are a real highlight for me. Like you just like listen to how punchy and thick and tight those drums are. You know, that's what I'm talking about, man. That's the essence of that 70s disco sound, straight up for me. So yeah, congrats again, Bjorn. Huge props. Alexandra says awesome guitar sound. Yeah, totally. Claps are great glute for sure. Yeah, I love the just like this. There's a really nice contrast between the elements that are tight and up front in the mix and the depth that some of the more you know, percussive or like ear candy type elements that are like, you know, a little bit more reverberated. There's this really nice balance there. That's what it's all about, getting those with, you know, dialing in mixes in that style. Okay, next up we have Adam Patterson. I believe we have 2 more to go here. So thanks guys for sticking around. And yeah, this one is from Adam Patterson. This is a last minute entry. I got this last night. Really cool track. And Adam sent me a short message here. So he picked a lo-fi hip hop, mainly because he's never actually heard of lo-fi hip hop. I'm still not quite sure I grasp the whole concept, and I'm not sure my song is even considered lo-fi hip-hop, but whatever this is, I like the outcome, and I will dive deeper into this genre for sure. Okay, so very, very cool, and huge props for challenging yourself on something that, you know, maybe you're not that familiar with. That's what it's all about. Just catching up on some comments here. If you're teaching, Eric says, if you're teaching all these folks how to do this, then PMA is pretty amazing. Oh, thanks, man. I'm not, you know, I'm just refining. As like what I'm trying to do is take the incredible amount of talent that I'm getting from the members of the Academy, and I'm just putting it in a context where that's going to be helpful for licensing specifically, but you know, overall production advice here and there too. But man, dude, I mean, you could hear that that the talent was. You know, the talent being brought to the table from the members coming into the Academy is already so evident just from listening to these submissions. So, you know, huge props to the members for stepping up your game and sending these tracks over. It's just such a pleasure to feature them all. Such great quality on every track. Absolutely agreed. Okay, so let's listen to Adam's track. Where is he? There he is.
rain on a sunny day.
Wow, crazy track. So super vibey groove, like really emotional sort of like feel to it. And yeah, lots that I like about this track. I really like that washed out guitar stab, like, you know, tone that you're using. It sometimes it gets like a little overwhelming in the mix, but it's got vibe. It's got tons of vibe. It sounds really cool. I love the vocals. I think you were, like one of the few people that sent me, track with like proper, vocals in it. And in terms of like lo-fi hip hop, I would say that this falls more this falls into the lo-fi territory, but I would define it more as like pop, like, lo-fi pop or like bedroom pop maybe, or something like that, I think that what mainly sets it apart, and this isn't like critical, I'm not trying to like give constructive feedback here, more just like pointing out that like in terms of typical lo-fi hip hop, like the beat for one thing, like, and the groove is a little bit different here, if it's hitting a little bit different. And it's mostly that you're using like a very live sounding kit. And you'll notice that like in most lo-fi tracks, like typically they have like more of like a muffled, kick and snare sample vibe, like not always, like, but it's usually the case that you'll get this like really sort of like minimal like tape saturated sound with like the kit, and then like you'll have it like you kind of like you have it in the intro, like actually, whereas throughout most of this track, like it's a bit more live sounding, it's more lively. I guess where it has like a more of like a pop track feel to it is the way, like the vocals, the way that you're processing the vocals, to the way the beat groove is feeling, and there's no like sample chopping or anything that's typical of lo-fi hip hop in it. It just feels very, it almost feels kind of like a band was playing it, to be honest. So yeah, like I absolutely love it. And if you had sent me the track without like and asked me like, to define the genre, I'm not sure I would have said lo-fi, but that's, or lo-fi hip hop, but that's not a knock against the track or anything. It's got tons of vibe. Really, really cool. And I feel like that could be like really licensable. You had like kind of like an interesting, like volume fade out breakdown, at one point, which is a little unconventional for for like licensing tracks, and it kind of surprised me. I wasn't expecting that, but yeah, I don't know, like just a great track, I'm curious if that was you singing and playing guitar. Like I'd love to know a little bit more about the track, but thank you so much for sharing it. Really, really cool. Okay, last up, Mike Elton. Mike sent me a urban dramedy track. Let's check this out. I like that sample right at the end. Nice one, Mike. Okay. Well, first of all, I love that you used the MIDI from the MIDI pack from the course. I remember that. I remember doing that one. And in case anyone's thinking about joining the academy, I do provide MIDI packs for each of the courses that I make, and I'm working on one for the orchestral hip hop course that will be coming up soon. I am brutally behind everything because of getting sick, but within the week that should be all finished. But anyway, I love that you used the MIDI pack from the dramedy course. You've got the beat like right up front in the mix, like crazy up front. I might even suggest that it's a hair too loud, just a little bit, that beat. But I like it. I like the fact that it's like up front. That's the way it should be. You have these like they're very low in the mix. You have these gated risers, which is they're really cool in sections that are very unconventional for dramedy. Like I'm a bit torn on whether they're like maybe a bit distracting, but it's definitely an original like use of them. I would never have thought to use a like a riser like that. But yeah, I mean it's cool. It's funny because like the string pizzicato is like that you're using, like it's bone dry. It's like very close up and intimate, which I think overall works well for dramedy. Like I think things on the drier side work well for comedy and dramedy tracks. Same for the beat. The beat should be really dry too. I wonder if maybe like a tiny bit of verb or like room sound on those pizzicato strings would provide a bit of depth, just in the mix against the drums, because everything is like really, really dry. So that would be something maybe I'd think about in terms of the mix. But yeah, great stuff, man. I'm glad you took that course, and I know that you had a fun time making that track. I just have I haven't made one in a while. I haven't written any music in the last like week and a half, but dramedy is fun. And I'm glad that a few of you guys sent me tracks for that brief. I was hoping I would get a few of those. So okay, we are winding down, so let me just quickly show you what I wrote for the 80s synthwave brief, and then we'll call it a day. Thanks so much for sticking around, and man, this has been fun. So here it is. Enjoy. I'll talk about it a little bit afterwards, and yeah, I guess I would say, as like, before I play this, my inspiration was like Amiga, Commodore 64, not Commodore 64 actually, like Amiga, like gaming system, circa late 90s, like playing Lotus, like car racing games, that kind of thing. That was the vibe I was going for visually. Enjoy. There it is, my tribute to Lotus. James says checkpoint. Yeah, it's so cool that you played that on the Amiga in the 90s too. That was my favorite game by far. And dude, I just tried to pay tribute. Tribute to the vibe there. What can I say about this track? Thanks, guys. Yeah, it was just fun. It's just fun to make, and like surprisingly quite easy. You know, it was really mostly just like trying to find the right source sounds, and like I spend the most time on getting the drums right. Because like I was saying earlier with some of the feedback I was giving, it's just like hard to get the drums to smack through when you have like these wall of synth sounds. In terms of the synths, pretty much leaning mostly on like the Arturia, the Arturia patches, the CS80, the Jupiter. I have a couple of Omnisphere patches, the Mini Moog, DX7. Those are my go-tos for Arturia stuff. CZV. I'm using a synth like a 70s analog lead here from which is a Logic patch. Yeah, I think Jupiter 8 for the bass. And the drums are essentially like they're just samples, as you can hear or see here. It's just like, you know, a careful selection of kick and snare samples, which took me a little while to dial in. But yeah. Really simple, you know, just like and there's some claps in here. And then like fills, lots of like drum fills, which are so important for synthwave. This track is ridiculously like fast tempo. I was kind of like thinking maybe of writing something a bit more chill. When like, you know, a little bit more on the Allison tip, but I don't know. I got excited and decided to just go full throttle. So yeah, like once I had the drum stuff figured out, then the rest it was pretty simple, you know, just finding the right like transition effects, and the synth, yeah, like it's just fun. It's fun. It really didn't take me that long to do it, and it was a lot of fun. And this is I think I tried to write something that was sort of in the synthwave vein, like maybe a little over a year ago, and I wasn't really stoked on it. So I thought that it would be, for me, it was a tie between like tackling the 70s, thing or the 80s thing. And I don't know, I just thought 80s would be more fun, and a bit more challenging for me. So, I went for that. Just catching up on your comments here. Hey, Andy's in the house. Who wrote this awesome track, and where are these Alphaville toms from? Those toms are like, if you're talking about these tom fills, I mean, I don't know if you're talking about my track. I guess that's the one you just heard, but those, I can't remember where they come from. Did I just grab them from Splice and then throw them into a contact kit? No, these are from Addictive Real Machines. Yeah, they sound pretty cool. I actually never use that kit from Real Machines. It was always one of those things I regretted buying, but I finally found a use for it. Really captured the vibe. Thanks, man. Thanks, Alex. Appreciate you guys. Okay, I'm gonna wrap it up because this has been a long one. And geez, what can I say in conclusion? Just I don't know. Just inspired and proud of the members in the academy, and just feeling blessed to have such an awesome community in there. And I just want to say, you know, for those of you listening, that I really appreciate all the well wishes and the support you guys threw my way while I was sick, and I appreciate your patience. I really do, and I'm trying to catch up on everything. And I'm really excited to put out the next course, and I am going to be running a little bit of a promotion for Academy membership for Easter. So that's coming up. And what else? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I got to get back to work. Lots to do today. Lots of video to edit for the next course. It's going to be on orchestral hip hop. And yeah, I just submitted that track from the course to Motion Array today. And man, yeah, all is good over here. I got a lot to be thankful for, a lot to be grateful for. I had a great month on Motion Array last month, and good things are happening with Artlist right now. And I am just I'm stoked moving forward into the spring and summer. It's been a good couple months, and I'm really glad to see the new members joining the academy, and listening to your music is just always such a pleasure. You guys are just bringing the heat. So I'm gonna go make breakfast and yeah, get some food in me, and yeah, love you guys. Thanks for all the feedback. Really appreciate it. Thanks, man. Great work, everyone. Thank you for taking such good care of the community and helping us grow as composers and producers. Dude, my pleasure. All right, signing off. Thanks, Alexandra. Thanks, everyone for being here. Okay. Hopefully I didn't forget anyone. Please forgive me if I did. I still got that brain fog. Okay, take care. Have a great day. Bye now.